Hi guys, I am on the last chapter, finally. Chapter 54. The ceremony to crown me king went by very quickly. Kerwin produced the Book of Faith, which Connor read from to administer the blessing of the king. When it was finished, Kerwin gave him a ring, which Connor placed on my finger. "This belonged to King Egbert," Connor said. "It was your father's." The king's ring was heavier than I had expected, made of gold and imprinted with my family's crest. It was too large and looked funny in my hand, like something had stolen rather than inherited through birthright. Then he lifted from a ruby red pillow my crown, still wet from having been washed. "This is a prince's crown. A new one will be commissioned for you immediately, but it will do for now." He placed it on my head, this time with much humbler and gentler hands than had crowned me at the inn. Connor went to his knees again and said, "Hail King Jaron." "Hail King Jaron!" the audience echoed. "Be a better king than your father was," Connor said softly. You come to the throne at a time of great upheaval." "There is always upheaval," I said. "Only the reasons for the troubles change. You have the betrothed princess. She will support you." "She hates me." "So do I, and I just crowned you king." Connor smiled as he said it, but it probably wasn't a joke. "I kept my promise to you," I said, still keeping my voice quiet enough so that only he could hear us. "You have the position you wanted." "You are the true king," Connor said. "You may place me anywhere you desire." "So I shall." "So I shall." Then more loudly I added, "I want the Prime Regent, Lord Benvin Connor, arrested for the attempted murder of Prince Jaron 4 years ago. Arrest him for the murder of an orphan boy named Vladimir, and also for the murders of King Egbert, Queen Erin, and Crown Prince Darius." Whispers and hisses flew through the room. Connor turned to me with panic-stricken eyes. "No, I didn't." From the pocket of my jacket, I pulled out a small vial. "This is oil pressed from the Javanese flower," I said. "It took me a long time to figure out what sort of poison might have killed my family. Entire nights searching through books in your library. I'm not a great reader, that's true, but if the subject matter interests me, I can comb through books quite quickly. Oddly enough, I found the answer in a book in your bedroom. Javanese oil is tasteless and requires only a single drop to produce a lethal dose, but it doesn't kill immediately. A person will go to sleep feeling fine and never wake up again. Javanese oil is hard to come by, yet this was in a strong box in your office." Connor shook his head, then his eyes darted left, and he thrust his hand inside his jacket. "As I always said, Sage, if I go down, so do you." But he failed to find what he was looking for. He drew back and searched his pocket. I released the cuff of my sleeve, and a knife he had hidden in his jacket fell into my hands. If this is what you wanted, then I shall have to increase the charges against you." 2 guards appeared on either side of Connor and took his arm. "I can't imagine the pleasure you must be taking in this moment," he said nastily. My temper flared. "Pleasure? I'm figuring a man who killed my family. Whatever I feel now, trust that pleasure is the furthest from those feelings." "You said you were my prince. Is this what that means to you?" "I am your prince, but I'm Karthaga's king." You'll understand why, in hierarchy of my titles, you must lose." "Why didn't you tell me from the beginning? If you had told me who you were, then I couldn't have unmasked you. I'd have doomed my own rule, just as my family was doomed." Behind me, Kerwin sighed. Addressing Connor, he said, "What if Jaron had been only an orphan? Surely you couldn't have expected him to fool the court for long." "He didn't need much time," I said, keeping my eyes on Connor. "He needed a prince only long enough to get himself named Prime Regent. No matter what happened afterward, he would become the controlling power in Karthaga." "Well done," Connor said. "Jaron was always described for a clever boy, but I underestimated you." I started to wave my hands to dismiss him, but Connor quickly added, "You are guilty of crimes too, your majesty." Facing him full on, I arched an eyebrow. "Oh? Even when you said you didn't want the throne, you were all that time plotting to get it. You lied to me." Another anger surged through me, and I didn't disguise it well. I leaned close to him and hissed, "I did tell you lies, Master Connor, but none of consequence. I was telling the exact truth when I said I had no desire to be king. If there was anyone I felt could... I did tell you lies, Master Connor, but none of consequence. I was telling the exact truth when I said it. I had no desire to be king. If there was anyone I felt could take my place without the entire kingdom's collapse, I would gladly step aside. If I could return to be that boy you snatched from the orphanage, I'd leave now and never look back. If you knew what it meant to be king... I sighed and shook my head. Of all Carthians, I am the least free. And what of my freedom? Connor asked. Should I beg for mercy? Beg for mercy from the devils, I spoke. More calmly now. Beg for mercy from the devils, I spoke more calmly now. You said you would sell your soul to them for this plan. Your plan worked, and the devils may have you. If the devils have me, then you are their king. Connor spat at me. I will forever curse the day we met. Take him to the prison, I told my guards. He will be there for some time. Connor, it appears you will be unavailable to fulfill your duties as Prime Regent. Therefore, you are relieved of that position and stripped of your title as noble. Once Connor was dragged out of the room, I directed the musicians to play. Then, exhausted, I fell into my father's throne. No, my throne. I was king now. The reality of what was incomprehensible. One by one, the various members of the audience came forward to greet me personally. I didn't know most of them, though I recognized several of their family names. They had been of little interest to me when I was 10, and were much more interesting now. You have come home to a country that mourned your loss these past 4 years, Kerwin said, standing beside me. See your people celebrate you. Will you join them? It wasn't that simple. I still feel like the boy in the orphanage. I murmured. I'm lost here. This is your home. I traced my finger along the carving in the armrest of the throne. It was my home because my family was here. I'm alone now, and I don't know where to begin. You're still young, Jaron. Perhaps a steward would be appropriate. I'm king now. No one else. Ow. Jaron dipped his head in acknowledgement of that and stared with me across the audience. Quietly, he said, Not everyone will welcome your return. The enemies at your borders will feel tricked. There will be anger. I know. War is coming, Jaron. A fact I understood down to my very bones. Despite that, I looked up at him and cocked an eyebrow. But surely the spies cannot travel so fast as to ruin this night. There is still time to laugh. He started to object, but stood and said, They must see me, laughed Kerwin. At least for tonight. With that, I walked into the audience. Again they parted from me. This time I saw the person I'd been looking for all evening. Mogan stood at the back of the room, looking very small and frightened. When I approached her, she lowered herself into a bow and remained that way. Please rise, I said. It's still me. She obeyed, but she shook her head. No, I don't think it is. How much did you see? All of it, Your Highness. Must you call me that? Her voice faltered. I must. Do you forgive me? Can you? She lowered her eyes. If you command it, then I will. But if I don't command it, please don't ask me that. Kerwin came up beside me, and who is this King Jaron? I took her hand and led her to the center of the group. She's a lady in disguise, just as I was disguised as an orphan for 4 years. She's a Mogan, and her family has debts to Master Connor. She's fully repaid those debts to me these past 2 weeks, an expert nursing care and compassion. Her father is dead, but using my power as king, I posthumously, I guess, declare him a nobleman of Carthia. She is a nobleman's daughter and will be treated as such. As such. Mogan shook her head. No, you don't. I can't repay this. I turned to her and lowered my voice. Mogan, you owe me nothing. You are free, and I wish you well in life. I gave her hand to Kerwin. You see, she is given a comfortable room and dress to fit her title. She may stay as long as she wishes, and at whatever point she asks it, see that she is provided a way home. She smiled through her tears and bowed to me. Thank you, King Jaron. I smiled back at her. Thank you, Mogan. I wouldn't have survived these past 2 weeks except for you. Kerwin led her away, but when he looked back at me, I could almost see a new weight fall upon his shoulders. Difficult times were ahead for Carthia and for me. But even pending war should never ruin a good party. With a smile on my face, I turned to the group and said, Carthians, tonight I am home again. Let it be a celebration. Tonight, we dance. That is the end. This was an amazing book, and I've read it like 4 times already. And this would be my 5th time finishing it. I'm completely done with it. And like I said before, if there's any books, I will leave down in the comments down below some books that I have that I can audiobook to you guys. I will also leave it down in the comments below games that I have so that I can videotape that. I will also listen to your comments on what you might want me to do, like some ideas on what to do, and I will most likely listen, and if I listen to it, I will give you a shout out. Goodbye.